Now that the 2025 NFL Draft has wrapped up, there are some great stories and some very unique players in this year's rookie class. None may have a crazier story than first-round pick Gray Zable. Coming out of the state of South Dakota, Gray was a zero-star recruit and was never supposed to do anything. Sure, maybe he could be a good college player, but at best he'd be decent in the FCS, but instead he ended up becoming one of the best players in school history, became a first-round pick, and has a ton of potential in the league. Today we're going to go through the impossible story of Gray Zable, talk about how he got to this point, and what he brings to the table for the Seattle Seahawks. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Gray Zable. So in order to understand how Gray Zable got to this point, we first need to go back in time. It's not common for a player from a small town like Pierce, South Dakota, whose entire population could only fill a quarter of an NFL stadium, to one day go in the first round of the NFL Draft. I mean, it's borderline impossible. As I said, he grew up in the small town of Pierce, South Dakota, and he spent a lot of time on his family's farm. ESPN reported that he achieved a lifelong dream back in 2024 by leasing 245 acres of land and starting a farm on his own. Zable said he grew corn, soybeans, and other crops, and also said, quote, "Farming and football have a lot in common. You plant a seed in the dirt in the spring and try to get as much as you can to grow a great crop in the fall. Football is the exact same way, and you work all off-season to get your body strong and healthy, and then you go reap the benefits in the fall." So yeah, this guy ended up growing up in a farming world, and it would translate to success in terms of football. The three words that were laminated all over the Zable home were faith, family, and football, and eventually he got to TF Riggs High School, where he played both offensive and defensive line, and was also part of some of the same teams that had blue-chip four-star quarterback Lincoln Kienholz, who ended up at Ohio State, and is currently a backup there. The athleticism for him went all the way back to his high school days, as he played football, basketball, and baseball. On the pitcher's mound, he absolutely brought the heat, as according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, he ended up throwing in the low 90s as a left-handed pitcher. During his junior season in 2019, he posted a .68 ERA while racking up 51 strikeouts. His high school coach said, quote, "The thing that always made Gray special was his mind. He had the speed, size, and work ethic which made him a great player, but his mind is what truly set him apart from other great players. He loved the game of football, he studied it, and was always looking for creative ways to get better or help his team get better." Zable ended up entering his senior season, and they are looking to go for their third straight football championship. At the time, he was a center and was one of the top centers in the state, as he was All-State for the team and was an All-State honorable mention back in 2017. In terms of recruiting, he was one of the top offensive line prospects in South Dakota, but in the grand scheme of national recruiting, that pretty much means nothing. He ended up having offers from both South Dakota and South Dakota State, but would pull the trigger on North Dakota State. This was somewhat shocking. He said, quote, "Both South Dakota schools are awesome universities, but I felt like North Dakota State was the place for me. Their culture, winning tradition, and education is the best I've seen. I was ultimately drawn to North Dakota State." As I said, he got a couple of offers and also had an offer to play baseball at South Dakota State. North Dakota State was the first school that Zable received an offer from, and he said, quote, "When I did commit, a lot of people were shocked that I did. It's definitely an SDSU town, and it's like a needle in a haystack to find a Bison fan here." He ended up winning 3 state championships during his high school time as a starter, and the Governors would go 31-5 during that span. He was team captain, and the offense that he anchored ended up having a state scoring record 710 points, and they won by an average of 58-7. According to 24/7 Sports, he was a zero-star recruit and was a part of the class of 2020. So how did he end up doing at North Dakota State? Going over a bit to Fargo, North Dakota, his life would end up changing as he was now a college football player, and as a true freshman, Gray would appear in 5 games, including 3 starts in a row at right guard. Unfortunately, he would end up hurting his knee in that last game against South Dakota State, costing him the rest of his freshman season. He said, quote, "It was a fluke play and somebody fell on the back of my leg. I remember just trying to get up and struggling and something wasn't right. The next thing I knew, I was done for the season." He ended up following that up with a sophomore campaign, in which he ended up becoming a backup lineman, appearing in 11 games for North Dakota State, and they went 14-1 and captured their 17th national championship. Zable would end up returning his senior year and ended up carving out a big role on the Bison offensive line as he played in all 15 games, including 7 as a starter, filling in at both guard and tackle for a Bison team that ranked 4th nationally with 266 yards per game. He was now becoming one of the better players in the FCS, and in 2023 he would really break out, starting in all 15 games and becoming a staple at right tackle the final 11 matchups of the year, but they would lose by 2 points against Montana in the FCS semifinals. This would leave a bitter taste in his mouth, and after the 2023 campaign, he apparently received 6-figure NIL deals to play for power conference teams, but he decided to stay at North Dakota State, in part to play with his younger brother, and also because of a principle. He said, quote, "You can't put a price tag on relationships you make in this game. These relationships with these coaches and players are going to last a lifetime." Back at the family farm near Mound City, South Dakota, though, his dad at the time was very nerve-wracked, as he thought there was a chance that Gray could end up leaving because he knew the state of the modern college football world. But Gray said no to the money and yes to the family. He ended up finishing his decorated college career in style, helping North Dakota State go to the FCS National Championship game with an unblemished 16-0 record. He said, quote, "I'm a firm believer that North Dakota State can take you wherever you want to go. My head coach always calls me stupid for not taking the money, but at the end of the day, I think it paid off pretty well." The 6'6", 316-pound offensive lineman ended up playing 5 different seasons in North Dakota State and became a big name in the draft. He was invited to the Senior Bowl alongside his teammate quarterback Cam Miller, and he was seen as a guy who would probably go day 2. In a sense, he was kind of similar to Cody Mock a few years ago, but Gray would end up blowing up. Daniel Jeremiah wrote, quote, "I believe he's best suited to play guard at the next level, and in pass pro, he has quick feet, stays square, and catches and absorbs rushers. His lack of length does show up on the perimeter, and he does allow defenders to capture his chest, but he possesses the core strength and balance to stall their push. Scouts say he could clean up his hand placement and limit penalties, plus the fact he played at the FCS level, but other than that, he really translated to the NFL. He had great technique and great physical measurables, which is why he ended up blowing up into being a first-round prospect, and eventually went with pick number 18 in the 2025 NFL Draft to the Seattle Seahawks. He was considered a top 3 interior offensive lineman and became the 9th North Dakota State player drafted in the last 12 years and the number 6 straight left tackle from NDSU. Kinda nuts. He became the 3rd highest player ever drafted from the state of South Dakota, with John Dutton from Rapid City holding the honor as the 5th overall pick, and he's also the highest South Dakota player since Dallas Goedert. For one more fun fact, he's the highest drafted guard the Seahawks have taken since 2001, and that was when they drafted Steve Hutchinson at number 17. Hutchinson went on to have a Hall of Fame career and was an integral part of the 2005 Seahawks squad that reached the Super Bowl. Overall, this guy seems like a great pick for Seattle, as he's tough, has the right values, and for a team that's trying to build into the future and build a really solid team in the trenches, Gray Zable fits that mold perfectly. From a corn farmer in South Dakota with 3 offers, to a first-round pick who could have a long, lengthy NFL career, I'd say Gray Zable's story is pretty impossible. Nobody ever thought this could happen, and North Dakota State is slowly becoming a factory on the offensive line spot and is producing a lot of NFL draft picks. Again, I have no idea how Gray will do at the next level, but he's got a great story, has a lot of potential, and based on his morals and values and what he stands for, I think he's a breath of fresh air in modern football and wish him nothing but success. But what do you guys think? If you're North Dakota State or a Seahawks fan, what do you think of Gray Zable, and which other rookie should I cover next? My goal is to do 100 videos like this in the next 4 months, so be sure to let me know which guy I should do down below. Check out my playlist with all my other videos, and before you go, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and check out some of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.